No.
Giants, who did have a good year last year, battled his way through injuries, and going back to Pasadena in Super Bowl 21, that record-setting performance, 22 out of 25. Morris is the running back. Manuel and Ingram get the starts as the wideouts, and two tight ends, Moat and Bavaro, who was a late signee. And the first carry is Joe Morris for next to nothing as he tries to move through the middle. Charles Mann, number 71, gets credit for the tackle. The Giants' offensive line, and this is going to be a key not only tonight but through the season. Roberts, Ard, Oates in the middle. Godfrey's gone. Damian Johnson's now the right guard. And, of course, the reemergence now, Carl Nelson back in the lineup after the absence of a year. 2nd and 9 from the 28-yard line. Moat in motion. Morris tries to turn the corner and can't because Alvin Walton comes up from the strong safety spot to dump him near the line of scrimmage. It'll be 3rd down and 9. Now the Redskin defense. Mann, Butts, Grant, and Marcus Cook at right end, but we will see Dexter Manley. The big story amongst the linebackers, they signed Wilbur Marshall, number 58, $6 million over 5 years. Wilburn and Green are the corners. Walton and Bowles are the safeties. 3rd and 10. Baker and Turner are in with 4 wide receivers in this set for the Giants. Sims from the shotgun has to step up, and he'll keep it. And he gets only to the 33-yard line. He is stopped there by Marcus Cook, and Washington has held the Giants on their first series.
And what a job they did holding the Giants. 4 wide receivers. There was a safety blitz on by the Redskins. Automatically, the Redskins secondary was in man-for-man coverage. They handled it. Sims had nowhere to go and could not pick up the first down. Good defense, Dan.
But I think Al really touched on it when he mentioned the Giant offensive line. If they're not able to give Phil Sims time tonight, and they're kind of a makeshift group right now, haven't had a great deal of time together, I think the Giants are going to be hard-pressed to move the ball effectively.
John Landetto, who signed late after a contract dispute and has been bothered by a bad back, has the punt fielded at the 30 and run back by Mike Oliphant, and he's a story we'll get into later on. Back to the 37-yard line. Mark Collins makes the tackle. 37-yard kick, 7-yard run back. And Doug Williams. We talked about Marshall's contract. Williams has a new one as well for 3 years. His numbers in that spectacular performance. Most of that yardage, of course, came in that second quarter, along with all of the touchdown passes. Timmy Smith, who set a record in the Super Bowl with 204 yards. Monk and Clark, Warren and McEwen are the tight ends. And if you don't follow the Skins that closely, Didier is gone. Clint Didier waived last week. McEwen takes his spot. From the 37, Clark and Monk are both split to the right on first down, and the Skins send it to Clark incomplete as they go to the air on the first play. 2nd down and 10. The offensive line for Washington, and of course Lachey will join them. It's already a very strong unit, and Dan will discuss how Lachey figures to fit into that as we move along. Jacoby, the huge one, number 66 at 6'7", 305. 2nd down and 10. Kelvin Bryant is in for Washington. He appears normally in 3rd down situations and in passing situations. Here it's 2nd and long. They send him into the pattern. Williams going deep for Clark, and Clark makes the catch for a first down at the 25-yard line. He ran past Perry Williams, and Gary Clark, who has had brilliant games in this stadium in the past, is off to another flying start.
That was an absolutely perfectly thrown ball. Pressure again against Williams. It was Eric Howard, the nose tackle, but look, it's beautifully thrown. Now, when you're covering man for man, that's not bad position on the part of Perry Williams.
Well, I agree. It's not bad coverage by Williams, but what a marvelous throw by Williams. Top left of your screen, look at Howard come in. Williams throws that off of his heels and is able to get it 40 yards downfield in the air. I think that's a magnificent start of a ball game by Doug Williams.
From the 25-yard line, their first running play. Good hole for Smith, and he exploits it, gets down to the 17-yard line, stopped there by the safety, Kenny Hill. defensively now for the Giants in this revamped defense. These were the starters, and they'll move around up there. You see Burt starting in the middle. We'll see a lot of Eric Howard, and Washington starting at end for Marshall. Banks is in there right now. That's the way they started. And there is the secondary. Good corners and a couple of banged up safeties in Hill and Kennard. 2nd and 2 from the 17.
And it's Andy Hedden for Lawrence Taylor.
Timmy Smith, a first down, and to the 10, but he fumbles out of bounds. So Washington still has possession at the 10-yard line, and Smith picking up right where he left off in the Super Bowl.
And it did not take long for Bill Parcells to get Banks into the lineup.
Well, the key here, I believe, is that Perry Williams, the cornerback, who's got contained, really sells himself too much to the inside. You see him on the ground already. Timmy Smith makes that read and bounces it to the outside. There's no contain, and until Kenny Hill is able to come over and make the play. That's bad position for the football. Luckily for Smith, it bounces out of bounds.
Just outside the 10, it's 1st and 10. They can get a first down without a touchdown. And straight through the middle, Timmy Smith. And again, it's interesting to note with Smith, he was hurt in college in his junior year, played in only one of his last 7 games as a junior and only 1 game as a senior. Played very sparingly behind Rodgers last year, and then they put him into the lineup in the playoffs, and he took off.
2nd.
So Dan mentioning before some question about Doug Williams and how he'll perform over the course of the season. Same thing in regard to Smith.
I think good point, Al. They both are in the same category, although Doug Williams has far more NFL experience with all the years he played with Tampa Bay.
2nd and 8, that's Clark in motion. Everybody goes out into the pattern. Williams incomplete. Intended for Clark. He was well covered, and John Washington finally got through to knock down Williams.
Giants are going to need that with Leonard Marshall probably not seeing action tonight with that pulled groin muscle over at the right defensive end. Now, Lawrence Taylor and Leonard Marshall are the 2 best pass rushers the Giants have. Taylor obviously gone. Hayden is in there for him, and there is Leonard Marshall.
He pulled the groin in last week's game against the Cleveland Browns, and he's available to play tonight, but he's really only about 75%.
The good news is that Eric Howard was in on Williams earlier, and also John Washington a moment ago, so they are getting a pass rush.
3rd and 8 with Clark to the left and Monk to the right. McEwen goes in motion. Williams on a short roll, looking back the other way for Gary Clark, and no, he's out of bounds. He was out of the end zone as he'd gotten behind Perry Williams. And for Gary Clark, it's his 3rd career game in the stadium. In each of his prior 2, he caught 11 passes.
And again, a throw by Doug Williams running away from the play and then back on his heels all the way across the field in perfect position. Doug Williams is having to make some throws tonight from awkward positions, and as you can see, the first foot clearly out of bounds, but Doug Williams, no one can ever contest the quality of his throwing arm.
And again, good position by Perry Williams, whom they seem to be attacking here in the early going.
Now, Chip Lohmiller is the 8th man to kick a field goal for Washington in their last 27 games over 2.5 years, and the rookie is successful from 26 yards in his NFL debut. So the 2nd-round choice from Minnesota makes the early score. The Redskins 3 and the Giants nothing. Rusan and Ingram are back deep. Lohmiller kicking off, and this one taken at the 6-yard line and fumbled there by Rusan, and he is met right away as Steve Gage, number 48, a backup safety and special teams performer, makes the stop and pins the Giants deep. 3-0 Washington, and the Giants last year losing their opening game, so they became one of the 5 of the last 7 Super Bowl champions to lose the opening game the next year, and more importantly, 4 of the last 8 Super Bowl champions haven't even reached the playoffs.
Parody.
Extreme. The Giants, again with 2 tight ends in there, Moat in motion. And Sims slings it to Moat, who had a terrific preseason. He gets to the 17, and here's a guy who could figure very prominently in tonight's game.
In many different ways. Moat, of course, will be in there as an H-back at times, or an F-back as they like to call him.
Well, the
or
guy
the
on
tight end.
The guy on the offensive line who has his hands full tonight, Carl Nelson. playing against one of the premier players in the league, Charles Mann. And that time, Carl Nelson overcommitted to the outside, and if it wasn't a quick pass, a quick release by Phil Simms, that would have been a sack. Keep in mind with Nelson, his problem right now isn't his cancer, it's dealing with an injured right shoulder. That's going to be his toughest battle, getting back to where he was.
Morris goes next to nowhere on second down as he reaches the 18-yard line. It will be third down and still 6. Coleman and Olkowicz.
I inadvertently said injured right shoulder. It's his left shoulder that's banged up.
And interesting, too.
Which is right the way Charles Mann went, making that inside move.
Took the inside move, and that's the problem. The only problem, really, that has troubled Carl Nelson is somebody moving to the inside and having to use that left side. It's just not as strong as it should be from that January 5th operation.
Dexter Manley is in the game now for Washington. He's number 72. And George Adams is the Giants' third down back. He stands next to Simms in the shotgun. 3rd and 6. Pressure is on. And Simms has to get rid of it, and that's grounding as the flag goes down. Marcus Cook came flying through, and Simms, instead of eating it, tried to throw it away. And no, sir, says Dick Jorgensen.
Well, the Giants blow it on their offensive line because Marcus Cook, number 74, isn't even touched. Marcus Cook is to the right side here of Carl Nelson. For some reason, he picks up the blitzing linebacker, and Cook is all alone. But then coming off late, Charles Mann. There goes Simms to the ground.
They bring out Landeta, and as they mark it off, bringing up the 4th down, the Landeta has got to be worrying Parcells with that poor first kick of his. He has had a bad back ever since he reported late, and he could be in a lot of trouble. That was a really poor kick, that first one.
Jorgensen still discussing it. Now the call.
The call is intentional grounding. Number 11, offense, 10 yards, and loss of down. It's 4th down.
Keep in mind the rule on the intentional grounding. You can even have a receiver somewhere in the area, but if your intent is to avoid a sack, and in the referee's decision and his judgment, by seeing Charles Mann in his face, Phil Simms just threw the ball into the ground, avoided the sack, and thus the flag. You've got a good look right there at Marcus Cook, number 74, who was untouched, and it's no fun being Phil Simms when defensive ends come in without being blocked.
They fouled that up just a little bit. That is an automatic penalty. The down, you also lose the down on it. So they have been marked off, and now they have to kick from their end zone.
Landeta, whose first kick was only 37, 6 under last year's average. And this one is not a thing of beauty either, as it bounds out of bounds at the 37-yard line. A poor kick, and a flag is down back at the 10-yard line.
And the Giants better hope this is against Washington, because some kind of field position for the Skins here. 2 poor punts by Landeta.
Washington already leading 3-0, and the call is against Washington.
If that's before the kick, that'll be an automatic first down if it's before the kick. That's what they're going to try to determine now. When was the hold?
Holding number 29, receivers, while the ball was in the air. 10-yard penalty, first down.
That's the difference. If the ball has already been kicked, the receiving team gets to keep the ball.
3-0 with 8:25 left in the first quarter. As they start from near midfield, and his run taking the ball down to the 26-yard line as the Redskins are moving again. And we can't let that last flashback go, Frank, without asking you if there was a mix-up in the secondary on that touchdown pass.
No, I'm just happy that thing was in color. Keep dragging on my black and whites, but Dan, I'll tell you, they're moving the ball on the ground a lot better than I think the Giants anticipated they would be able to do. The Giants are not. I'm trying to figure about their pass rush, but they're getting beat on the ground.
I'm trying to figure out if that's the Giants defense or if that's the Denver Bronco defense, because the last regular season game we did was the Super Bowl, and they're looking much like the same team.
21-yard gain for Smith on the end around.
Oh, look out.
Has blocking inside the 20 and tripped up at the 15-yard line, and he has a first down. So the Skins are knocking on the door again. Mark Collins makes the tackle with 8 minutes to play in the quarter.
Art Monk really didn't get as many yards as he wanted here. Watch him right here. Just the old simple play right through the backfield and around the corner. He makes a decision here to come back to the inside rather than maybe test the sidelines. Sure looked like a lot of open territory. The handoff there from Williams. And it really looks like clear sailing with Donnie Warren out front, but rather than take the sidelines, I think Monk made a mistake and came back to the middle of the field.
He used to be a running back at Syracuse.
He might have scored if he stays on the sidelines.
3 wide receivers and now including Sanders. They give it to Timmy Smith, and the Giants finally wrap him up. Washington makes the initial hit. Kennard coming up from the secondary as well. Joe Gibbs, hopeful of winning a Super Bowl championship for the 3rd time in his illustrious career.
Banks, the strong side linebacker, they held him out for the opening play, and then they instantly bring the Pro Bowler, who's only had about 4 days work after that long holdout. But you also see Pepper Johnson in on that stop. This is what Parcells is counting on from the middle of that line. He probably will be the one who inherits eventually that job of Harry Carson. Good against the run, Pepper Johnson.
2nd and 10. McEwen goes in motion. They have 3 wide receivers in there. Williams stumbles as he goes back, throws, caught at the 8 by Craig McEwen. He was a replacement player last year. He was in camp, cut. During the strike, he came back. Then they kept him, and he's the man taking Clint Didier's spot. Pepper Johnson makes the tackle along with Carl Banks.
He really earned that job when the replacement game that we did, Al, when you were doing the World Series. He had 7 receptions that night against the Dallas Cowboys, and I think 5 of them were on 3rd down.
The Redskins just feel that McEwen a little more versatile than Clint Didier and a little more speed once he's got the ball, and that's what really prompted the decision to let Didier go and go into McEwen.
On 3rd and 3, they send Clark in motion and bring him back the other way. Williams throwing incomplete, nearly picked off out of Bryant's hands and in and out of Kennard's hands as well.
Well, Kelvin Bryant was really wide open on that play, and Doug threw the ball a little bit too far back to the inside of the field. Kelvin really did a heck of a job just getting his hands on the football. Let's see if we can pick it up here. The ball is going to be too much back to the inside. Bryant's going to have to dive for it. You can see the effort he made and right through his hands, and Terry Kennard almost got a lucky interception.
We saw Hedden, number 54, perhaps forcing that errant pass by Williams, but in any event, the Giants are getting off cheap once again. This is kind of Redskins' first quarter, and if they can get out of this with just 6 points, they're going to be fortunate.
25-yard field goal attempt by Lohmiller is good out of McEwen's hold. So the Redskins settle for 3 more. 5:57 to play in the first quarter. 6-0 Redskins. One giant problem last year, their special teams play. Not only last year, but look at that. Go back to 1972, the last time the Giants returned a kickoff for a touchdown. It's their 3rd run back of the night, and this one, like the prior 2, comes to the 6-yard line.
Whoa!
Rusan really takes a belt from Kurt Govea, who loves to hit people, number 54.
I think of the Redskins and the way they play special teams, I have to go back to George Allen, who really started that tradition of special teams play in Washington. And you think of some of the great guys over the years that have covered kickoffs. But watch this hit on Rusan. Govea gets around the blocker, and boy, that's nothing fancy. That's just a helmet in the chest, and the momentum just takes Rusan right over backwards.
If we could bring you the natural sound of that.
Govea well noted for hits like that. Sims to the air, gets pressured, throws on the run, and it's caught out at the 40-yard line by Lionel Manuel. So the Giants have a first down at the 40 as Sims improvises, steps up, and finds his man.
Well, he had to duck underneath Charles Mann again. Watch from the right side of your screen. Carl Nelson trying to work man upfield, but he collapses the pocket, and Butts wasn't able to keep Sims from getting to the outside.
And Lionel Manuel kept it alive, however, for Sims. He saw his quarterback was in trouble, kept sprinting, kept giving him the angle, and they get the completion in the first down. Good heads-up play by Manuel.
And that time, Barry Wilburn on the tackle almost took Lionel's helmet off by grabbing a hold of the face mask on the bottom. It was inadvertent, but nonetheless, he had a hold of Manuel's face mask.
Sims now with a clock ticking down. That 45-second clock is down to 5 as he resets the alignment. It's down to 2 as they get the play off. And Morris over the left side gets out to the 44-yard line, picking up about 4. And Wilbur Marshall, number 58, gets credit for his first tackle as a Redskin. First dividend on that $6 million contract.
Well, a guy who early in the preseason was a little hesitant on the field just because he was still learning a new system, had his best game of the preseason last week in their game against Atlanta, and is there. This is one of the finest impact players in the National Football League, Wilbur Marshall.
Moat lined up that time in the backfield as the blocking back and makes the catch and gets to the 46-yard line. So a man who is the second tight end to Bavaro and a man who will be used as the H-back or the F-back or what have you is the blocking back there and the pass receiver.
Talk about the comeback of Carl Nelson from Hodgkin's disease. Moat, 2 years ago, had complete reconstruction of his knee. He came back, missed that entire season. Then last year he struggled and finally started to get it back towards the end of the season. And he was the top receiver during the preseason, and they like to have him in there a lot of the times this year with Bavaro, and that's how they've opened tonight.
3rd and 4. Sims, pressured by Mann, steps away, lost it for Bavaro, and Bavaro is stopped at the 46-yard line by Monty Coleman for no gain, and the Giants will have to kick.
And there's a good look at Phil Sims imploring his offensive line to give him a little time. This is a big-time catch, Frank.
It is, but Sims has not been comfortable in that pocket yet. He's had to either step up, he's had to roll out, he's had to slide between the Redskins. They're going to have to do something, or they're going to have to go to just the quick timing passes because the Redskins are all over Sims.
And, folks, there aren't many guys that can do that. I mean, that does not come easy. A guy who misses training camp and makes a one-handed stab like that.
Landeta, whose first 2 kicks are 37 and 30, and this one is about the same distance. It's out of bounds at the 28-yard line, and the crowd signaling their emotions in regard to one Mr. Landeta.
If you're going to hold out, you better produce when you come back.
And quick.
Redskins, with 2 field goals, have moved 55 yards, 39 yards. The Giants have stopped them deep in their own territory twice. 2 Lohmiller field goals, and now the Redskins have the ball back. A 6-0 lead, 2:51 to play in the first quarter. Washington starting from its own 28-yard line. Timmy Smith, and look at that hole again. Out to the 36-yard line, Kenny Hill, the safety, comes up to stop him after a gain of close to 8.
And that's big Mark May, the right tackle, who just makes Eric Dorsey disappear. And this was a problem last week. Let's take a look. Left side of your screen, 77, Dorsey down in his stance. Watch how far to the outside Mark May takes him, spins him all the way back around. Timmy Smith right up through behind Thielman, who gets a good block on Carson. And this was a problem last week. The Browns did this to the Giants, and they still haven't looked like they're getting ready even to stop the run.
On 2nd and 3. Williams, excellent protection, going deep for Ricky Sanders, and 2 deep. He was covered by Perry Williams, and it will be 3rd down and 3.
I think we know who's in the barrel tonight. It's going to be Williams all night long. They have everything that they have thrown deep. They've thrown against Williams, totally staying away from Mark Collins over on the other side. Williams has been playing pretty good.
You think he's figured it out yet?
Oh, and he's taking a deep breath, and butterflies are turning in the stomach every time a receiver comes out there because they know he's the mark man, and you know Gibbs, he's not going to let up on it.
Oh, no. He's doing it for some reason. There's a purpose to this.
They send Sanders out with him now on 3rd down and 3. McEwen and Bryant are the running backs in this set, and Monk goes in motion and comes back to the left as Williams throws underneath to McEwen, and he has a 1st down as Williams converges with Andy Hedden to make the tackle, and Washington has another 1st down with 1:50 to play in the quarter.
McEwen's not all that big, 6'1", 220 pounds, but he gives you that good underneath receiver. He is almost like a wide receiver in the moves that he can make. And of course, we mentioned before, they found him as a replacement player, but he works so well under the Gary Clarks and the Art Monks and the Sanders.
Redskins at their own 45. 1st and 10. Play fake, great protection again. Going deep on Williams again for Sanders. Incomplete.
Would I lie to you? He's covering well, though, but they keep coming back to it.
Perry Williams has to be saying, who did I offend over on the Redskins sideline? Hey, beautiful play fake. It's a counter gap fake up on the inside. He's stuck with him all the way on man coverage, and boy, it just doesn't get any better than that by Perry Williams.
The key to that for Williams is to know when that ball is coming, and he knows, he can feel it, he can sense it. When all of a sudden Sanders is looking back for the ball, that's when he's got to make the move, look back for the ball, and not lose his stride, and he's done a fine job.
A well-run route. perfect coverage and a good throw.
He's getting into it now.
Big-time football there.
Now it's 2nd and 10, and they send Gary Clark to the left, so Williams has that responsibility now. As Doug Williams looks the other way. Throws, and it's batted and nearly picked off. Incomplete. Mark Collins nearly had the interception.
That might be why they don't want to go over to Mark Collins' side. He, now in only his 3rd year out of Cal State Fullerton, was a starter late in his rookie year. He is a terrific man-for-man defender.
I can't believe the coverage by the Giants secondary. I mean, this is flawless coverage in this last series. Played perfectly over the top of Sanders by Collins, who almost comes up with the football. And Williams sharp on his throw. We'll look at it from the reverse angle. And I mean, this is textbook secondary work by the Giants. Ooh, look how close he came to running away with that one. He could have walked in for a touchdown.
3rd and 10 as Williams is protected well again and finds an open man, Clark, but he drops the football. He was open in amongst 4 Giants and just simply dropped it.
I'll take that pass, Dan, over the first one that Williams threw. He threw that off balance, under pressure, strong-armed it, and coming across the middle, sure-handed Gary Clark. He'll probably not drop another one like this all season.
Well, maybe the Giants ought to stay with a man-for-man because that's where they've been getting their good coverage. That time, Clark works right into the soft spot of the zone. And if the Giants come back and win this football game, they might look back at that play because that keeps the drive alive. That would have been a first down and a lot of momentum for Washington.
And they've been badly outplayed in this first quarter, yet they trail only 6-0. They're going to get the ball back. Cox's punt. McConkey is back to receive. He calls for the fair catch and lets it bounce, and it goes into the end zone. So the Giants get a break.
They dodged the bullet.
Gage nearly downed it inside the 5.
McConkey took a real chance on that. The fair catch somewhere around the 15-yard line in that no man's land where do I or don't I make the fair catch. He's very good at it, but look where he is. I mean, ordinarily you say you got to go for the fair catch there. He's at the 21-yard line.
The rule of thumb is if the ball is going to hit inside the 10, let it go. If it's going to hit outside the 10, field it. Look how close Gage came to making that play and swatting it back outside the goal line. You're right. McConkey took a gamble and got lucky.
So a 55-yard punt is worth only 35 net. 1st and 10. And wrapping up Morris is Dave Butts. He may be 38 years old. He may be near the end of his career, but don't tell that to Joe Morris at this particular moment.
Well, the Giant guards were pulling on the play, and I guess they figured that Dave Butts was too slow to pursue from the inside. Mistake. This guy is in the best shape of his life. Former teammate of mine in St. Louis talking to him down on the field before the game. I mean, he looks better than he's ever looked in his life. He's lifting weights for the first time in his career, and that's got to be scary if you're a guard or a center.
And jumping on the left side was William Roberts. You saw the graphic that indicated Butts was the 2nd oldest player in the league. The oldest is Joe Ferguson.
Number 66, offense, 5 yards, still 2nd down.
Joe Ferguson, the quarterback with the Bills for many years and now backing up Testaverde at Tampa Bay, is the only man in the league older than Butts.
William Roberts misjudged the snap count. He thought it was on 2 when actually it was on 3, and he was only about a yard and a half offside.
These things start to happen, don't they, Dan, when you feel you're in trouble as an offensive line as a whole.
And right now the Giant offensive line is in trouble.
2nd and 20 from the 10-yard line. Sims in the waning seconds of the quarter hits Bavaro, and on a play that will end the first quarter, Bavaro is stopped at the 17. And the second quarter will begin with a 3rd and about 13.
Good news for Bill Parcells. Carl Nelson finally blocked Charles Mance.
Good protection that time by the whole Giant line.
End of the first quarter, 6-0 Redskins will return to Giant Stadium after this message. And a word from your local station.
Ways you can give an offensive tackle help is by keeping the tight end in close and let the defensive end think about him. If you roll this tape, that's Mark Bavaro on the right. And look at the way he stays in tight to Charles Mann, forcing Mann to come in more head up with Carl Nelson. Excellent job that time by Nelson. Bavaro then late released and made the reception.
And the first play of the second quarter is a sack on 3rd down and 12. Sims gets buried on a blitz by Darrell Green, number 28. one of the fleetest men in the league. In fact, a couple of years ago, he won the NFL's fastest man contest. And then he comes to Deck Sims.
You're going to get man-for-man coverage on that. And, again, good coverage by the Redskins. But Phil Simms had enough time. If he had an underneath receiver, he could have got rid of it. He just didn't have that underneath receiver. They were trying everything deep.
Landeta to kick, and his kicks have been real poor. 37, 30, and 27 from the end zone. Not a good one here, but he may get a bounce, and he does. As it bounces out of bounds at the 47-yard line, and 47, he gets booed again as he departs after. Normal. 8 o'clock Eastern, 5 Pacific next Monday. Williams again protected well and hits Timmy Smith. And what a difference the way the Redskins are not only protecting Williams but opening the holes for Timmy Smith, and the job the Giants are doing on the other side tonight.
Well, the one thing about it here, if I'm a member of the New York Giant defensive team, I've got to be looking over at my offensive squad and say, hey, you guys are killing us. You got to do something. And look at the stats. They bear that out. 35 yards total offense for the Giants and only 5 yards of it on the ground. This entire game so far has been the Washington offense against New York's defense.
Here is Smith inside the 40, and he's close to a first down. The Giants knew they had to restructure and revamp their offensive line, and they spent their first 2 draft choices on big tackles. Eric Moore is one of them.
And Big John
and
Elliott
is the other, but neither is ready to assume a starting role.
Elliott is a backup. Moore is in a backup capacity. Moore's not even active for this game. And a number 1 and a number 2, at least early, you would hope you'd get a little more production than that. But it takes a while to break in the offensive line in this league. It's not easy.
Bill Belichick, the defensive coordinator for the Giants, they're doing their part. They've got this thing held to 6 points, but the Giants offense has done nothing. And I think what Dan touched on, Al, is true. It is so difficult to finesse the sophistication that is so often lost on pro football fans, is the fact that it just takes a while to get that down in the offensive line. It's thinking all the time. They change things at the line of scrimmage instantly. A lot of people are not aware of that, but they've really got to be on top of it. It takes a while to do it.
3rd down and inches. Well, the Redskins have been doing it because they've been playing together for quite some time as they bring back just about their Super Bowl squad intact with a couple of minor changes. Timmy Smith to the 35. He has the first down. And interestingly here, too, Dan, is the fact that not only do the Redskins have a very potent offensive line, but again, let's go back to the top of the show. The Schrader trade, they're going to get another great lineman, Jim Lachey.
And a great lineman indeed. Lachey's, he might be one of the top 10 linemen in the league right now. And as young as he is, he's going to be playing for the Redskins for years. And what Joe Bugle, the offensive line coach, now has to try to figure out, where are they going to play him? There aren't many holes on that line.
Certainly the exception to the rule of what we were just talking about a moment ago. He came in with Pro Bowl material right away.
There aren't many holes, but they sure open a few. On first down, Timmy Smith takes it to the 33-yard line. So he has been the workhorse tonight. Again, George Rogers for many years in that role. The Redskins releasing Rogers, and it looked as if George might sign on with Denver, but when they traded Dorsett, that ended their interest in him. Seattle had some interest in George, but right now he's home.
Now 2nd long yardage, and you got to know that number 23 on the Giants, Perry Williams, is thinking, well, they're sending Gary Sanders out in front of me once more. Giants could be thinking blitz. They like the blitz on 2nd and long.
2nd and 9 from the 34-yard line. But this time they only send 3, and that opens up the middle for Kelvin Bryant as he takes it to the 30-yard line. He's about 4 yards shy of the first down. Johnson, Carson, Banks converging.
Just seems like the Redskins, with their diversity of formations and motion, and yet relatively a basic offense. With all the movement that takes place, that's nothing more than a back Kelvin Bryant just releasing out of the backfield and making 4 or 5 yards. But because of the size of their offensive people, their tight ends, their line, they just come at you in waves. And a 4-yard gain is a 4-yard gain, but it also exacts some punishment out of a defensive team that always shows up in the second half when you're playing the Redskins.
3rd and a long 3 from the 29. Williams, and open down the far side is Sanders for the touchdown. Ricky Sanders, another of the record setters in the Super Bowl when he caught 9, including an 80-yarder, and Washington makes it 12-0 on a 29-yard pass from Williams to Sanders.
Perry Williams, again, appeared to be the victim, although it looked as though a 4-year veteran would know when he's going to get help on the inside. It looked like he wanted help from the inside and didn't get it.
Here they are at the top of the screen. Watch Williams come here, and then he makes a move to the inside, allowing Sanders to have a free run at the end zone. Let's take a look at it there at the top of the screen. He makes his move to the inside, and for some reason is just oblivious to the fact that Sanders is on the sideline. And for some reason, I don't know what it is, Perry Williams was thinking one thing and really not paying attention to the man he'd given an outside release to. I don't know if he was expecting help from Kennard or Hill, one of the safeties, but you don't get help to the outside. You don't get help to the sideline.
You know, you made the point before, Dan, Washington is pretty much a basic team. They run that counter gap so much, and you don't think of them as being a big play team. And yet last year they had by far more big plays, meaning 40 yards plus, than any team in the league. And that one may not have been 40, but there's your big play right there on 3rd and 4.
And I think that goes back and just reflects what Doug Williams does best, the long throw.
Lohmiller on the extra point, which is spotted at the 15, and this place has become pretty silent because it's been all Washington.
Again, this was not the intended receiver for Williams. He looked downfield, and it shows the vision he has, the peripheral vision. He picked up instantly when the receiver came open. Easy touchdown for the Skins.
Hovering high above on a beautiful night, weather-wise, not too beautiful for Giants fans. 13-0 line drive kick. Roussan from the 8 comes back out to the 29-yard line. Stopped by, among others, Jamie Morris. There he is, number 22, Jamie Morris of the Washington Redskins, as Roussan trots off. Jamie Morris is the brother of the Giants' Joe, who's having his problems tonight. There's Jamie out of Michigan.
What did their mother and father finally decide to do in tonight's game? They were at one time going to sit on either side of Giants Stadium here and switch at halftime. Joe's stats in the championship game.
We'll call that back up in a second and digest it as Moat gets it out to the 34-yard line. There it is. Morris versus Washington. Early in his career had some tremendous days against them, but Washington has really stymied them, and they've done so tonight as well.
And not just Joe Morris. I don't know that there's a tougher team in the league, and these might be the 2 toughest teams in the league to run the football against, but the Redskins always come to mind when I think of teams that are difficult to run against. They're so big up front.
2nd down 5 from the 35-yard line. Sims protected well that time and complete to Mark Ingram. And he's a man they are hoping can really develop this year. The #1 pick out of Michigan State last year. He caught just 2 balls in 1987. Starting tonight, makes his first reception of the game here.
He was a holdout for a long time last year, Dan, then gained a lot of weight, and he ran a good pattern here.
Watch this move he puts on Darrell Green. Darrell Green is going to spin all the way around, and then Ingram across to the middle. Watch him put a 360 on Darrell Green, the all-world cornerback. Darrell Green completely turned around. That's some move by Mark Ingram against one of the best corners in the game. Green with enough speed to catch in on the play, but that was a nice move that time by Mark Ingram.
On 1st down, here's Morris, and he's tripped up in the backfield by Wilbur Marshall, number 58. I think this is a key drive here for the Giants. They have shown nothing to this point. We are approaching the halfway mark of the 2nd quarter, and frankly, they're fortunate to be down only 13-0.
Well, it's a 3-way game. You've got offense, defense, and special teams. And right now for the Giants, the only team that's playing anywhere close to average is their defensive team. Special teams with Landetta's putting has been awful, and offensively they just haven't done anything yet either. You're not going to win a football game against the world champions, only firing 1 out of 3 cylinders.
Moat is split to the right on 2nd and 12 as a wide receiver, and they go in that direction and not even close as Charles Mann put the pressure on Sims.
Still pressure on Sims. A few moments ago, he was able to get the completion to Moat. He was knocked down by man on that occasion. This time was man right in his face again.
And I wonder if he hit Sims before the ball was thrown. That way it was underthrown as severely as it was. Bart Oates working against Dave Butts, and that's Damian Johnson. That time against Charles Mann, who right in on Sims, and Phil Sims has had maybe 1 or 2 passes all night with an unobstructed view.
3rd and 12. He works from the shotgun now, and he gives to Adams on an inside handoff, but a nice play by Dexter Manley. Normally in there is the pass rusher, but read it perfectly. Missing training camp, of course, with the drug suspension, but there he was to stop it at the 45.
That reflects what the thinking is offensively for the Giants. They didn't want to risk Sims on a 3rd and 14. They came. It's not a bad call on a draw, but I mean, they just figured that they would not have time to throw the football. It's changing their offense, the fact that they cannot protect him.
Frank, I think you might be right. And that's sad for the Giants if that's their thinking this early in the ballgame.
Landetta's 5th punt already with 8:27 to play in the first half. He's had a brutal night. This is his best kick.
An ovation.
Not much height, but at least he got the distance, and then of all things, it dies at the 1.
That'll show you guys I can kick.
53 yards for Landetta to a standing ovation. Partial.
It didn't have a whole lot of hang time, but it was effective.
About 1.5.
At the 1-yard line. So Sean Landetta saved at least until next time.
Play developed now. The Washington Redskins on their own 1-yard line.
I'm going to say that.
Washington pinned deep. Skins at their own 1-yard line to start this drive. And Timmy Smith tries to give them some room and only gets a yard. He's wrapped up by Eric Dorsey, number 77. It'll be 2nd and 9 with 8 minutes to play in the half, and Washington leading 13-0.
This is where a first down or a lack thereof is critical to the guys in the blue jerseys. If they can force the Redskins to punt from their own end zone, hopefully maybe their offense will get a little momentum underway. But right now it's on the shoulders of the the Giant defense.
Dan, this is where they miss Lawrence Taylor. He can make something happen down in a situation like this. They really miss him here.
2nd and 9. Williams, beautiful protection again. Throws to Smith. Lost the ball at the 9-yard line. It's loose. And the ground caused it as Don Warren actually came in and covered up. Warren, number 85, comes up with the football to save it for Washington just shy of the 10-yard line.
Well, I don't know if the ground caused it or not.
Yeah.
That ball might have been loose before he hit the ground. Let's look at it from behind and see if we can see from this angle. Again, Williams off his heels, an easy throw to Timmy Smith. Oh, the ball clearly out before he hits the ground. That's a fumble all the way. It's just a question of who recovers it. And I'm sure they're going to take a look at this one. This will go to instant replay. Count on it.
That was Harry Carson and Pepper Johnson for the Giants, both on that collision. It jarred it loose.
A fumble all the way by Tim Smith. And now we're back to finding out who covered it up. Let's look at it reverse angle. The reception, and he's going to get hit. This is Harry Carson coming from the inside. Pepper Johnson from the outside. Okay, the ball is down on the ground.
Carson perhaps stripping it.
Here comes Warren. Warren will be coming into your picture, 85.
I can't see a football in there anywhere. Not yet, at least.
Squirts out on the other side.
Warren in there digging.
Well, that's going to be tough to figure something out from there as far as who has it.
And one from the 10, so really there wouldn't have been a change of possession. McEwen can't make the catch. Williams wants a call for a late hit. He can't believe he doesn't get one.
Big pressure by Banks. Giants needed that desperately. They sent their all-pro linebacker. He's only had 3 days of practice, and he was right in Williams' face.
They're ruling that it was a fumble on the second down play and that it was recovered by the Redskins. And on 3rd down, Williams under that pressure throws it short into the outside, and this is what the Giants and their defensive team needed. No first down, and hopefully they'll get decent field position. If you're a Giants fan, that's what you're rooting for.
And wouldn't it be odd if this game turned on a Landeta punt as he was able to pin them deep? And now we'll see if the Giants can get the ball back in decent shape. Cox with a bad kick. There's a marker down. It is down at the 35-yard line, but a flag is down. And Cox unhappy with a snap, and they've really been having problems with their snaps.
Those flags where they fell usually indicates a receiver downfield early, and there it is.
Yeah, that's the call. But with that bad kick, there's no way that New York is going to take that penalty.
Downfield, number 59, offense, decline. First down.
Mike Scully, the center, was down early. He snapped the football and then took off. Mike Scully is lined up in the center position. This is him right here, and watch him get the head start before the ball is kicked. Clearly downfield a good 5 or 6 yards.
He wasn't even close.
Nice to be enthusiastic, but it helps to be smart at the same time.
Well, let's see if the Giants can capitalize now as they take over at the Washington 35-yard line. Their deepest penetration. They've been unable to do anything offensively. They're down 13-0, and Sims leads them up. 1st and 10 at the 35. Morris behind him, and Manuel in motion. Sims, good protection this time, and he throws to the 30-yard line to Bavaro for a gain of about 5. A reminder that right before the second half kickoff, stay tuned for a special sneak preview of what promises to be one of the most remarkable achievements in television history. A preview look, a sneak preview look at War and Remembrance, a tremendous series. Second and 5 with the ball at the 30-yard line. Moat in motion and now sets up in the slot on the left. Man gets upended. A flag is thrown. Bavaro makes the catch. Takes it to the 13-yard line. Coleman makes the stop. Man was sent head over heels as he charged in, and then the flag thrown on the other side. And it will be against the Giants. And you can read that on Parcells' face. Illegal procedure against the Giants.
No, they really have not had a lot of time to work with this formation. Bavaro just coming back literally about 10 days ago.
Illegal formation, number 84, offense. Went in motion, sat on the line of scrimmage, was outflanked by an eligible receiver. Still second down.
Here's what it is right here. Here's Zeke Moat. Let's clear all this out of here. Here's Zeke Moat, but if you look straight down the line, he's flanked by another eligible receiver. This makes Moat ineligible. And he went downfield on the play, or rather he came back to block, but still he's lined up in an ineligible position. When you wear number 84, you can't do that. So that was a screwed up formation that time by New York.
Second and 10. We've got another flag, and we've got Sims decked back at the 43-yard line and a loose football, but no, says Jorgensen. No fumble, he says, but we do have a penalty.
Control was called.
Grasp and control.
Quarterback sack.
And that's clearly the case. There's no way that Phil Sims coughed up that football until well after he was smothered by a bevy of Giants. Monty Coleman, the first one in there. I mean, a bevy of Redskins.
Giants also were in motion on that. I believe it was Moat again.
There's Monty Coleman, number 51, lined up at the top of your screen, coming inside Johnson and Nelson, and he just runs right over the top of little Joe Morris, and Phil Sims is just having a miserable night.
Illegal motion, number 84, offense.
What I said a moment ago now, Moat has not worked that kind of H-back, F-back, whatever you want to call it. He had to play tight end when Bavaro was holding out, so he's not worked that much, and you saw him come right towards you and go in motion towards the line of scrimmage.
So he's had a Quinella here, lines up in the wrong spot and then moves forward on the snap. 3rd down and 17 as Moat goes to the bench. Giants out of the shotgun. Skins send 4, but protects Sims well, and it's caught by Ingram, and Ingram should have moved forward. He didn't know where he was, and he kept moving forward. He would have had the first down. Instead, he's about 3 yards shy of it. Had he not turned back, Walton and Davis make the tackle.
Oh boy, that's That's the lack of not playing. I mean, Mark Ingram came from a good program, Michigan State. He knows better than that. He has not played much for the Giants. Again, Sims had protection. Ingram got open. All he had to do was put the head down. He's got the first down.
Watch Damian Johnson. Watch him come back and pick off Charles Mann. Give Sims some extra time. Now he's got to get to the 25. Ingram has to get to the 25. Dance. He could have made it, and yet he stops on the 27 and gets bounced back. They're going to give him forward progress to the 26. But, geez, it looked to me like he clearly could have made it to the 25 without a problem.
No question. The Giants will call a timeout here, and it's a case of it's 3rd down and 17, so I guess your natural instincts are to say to yourself, hey, that's a long pass, long enough for a first down normally.
I know right there you saw Ingram took a look at it. He knew he was going to get hit. He tried to get a lot of yardage out of it, but here's a first-round draft pick of a year ago that played so little and has been not in this kind of heat against the Washington Redskins, Monday Night Football, and he took it to the outside instead of putting that head down and getting the first.
And the Giants are going to go for it. After taking a timeout, Parcells sends them up to the line. 4th and 1 from the 26-yard line. The fake to Morris. Sims throws over the middle. Knocked away at the 13-yard line by Todd Bowles, who hits Mark Bavaro. Bowles, the free safety, hit him as the ball got there, and Washington takes over on down.
Oh, I think you got to have a little more of a play action fake on this. Hardly any by Phil Sims. They were reading pass all the way. It fooled nobody.
Gutsy call, though. Look at the throw right to Bavaro, and look how well Bowles times it out. Not even challenging the main part of Bavaro's body, but going across the front of his body and putting his shoulder pad right on the football.
And they were thinking pass, Bowles, Walton, all the way.
3 tight ends in there for Washington in this alignment as they button up and give it to Timmy Smith. And he's upended at the 27-yard line, and the marker is thrown.
Another flag down, and Doug Williams picks it up and is going to hand it back.
Against Washington for holding with 4:28 to play in the first half. Redskins on top 13-0.
Good work by the cameraman. You saw him coming right at you. The big Joe Jacoby looks like a semi-truck coming around on that counter gapper.
Holding, number 85, offense, 10 yards, still first down.
Don Warren, the tight end who lines up at the point of attack. He's going to be working against Carl Banks, and you can see the right hand. When you got it up on top like that, you have to work to get it out of the way. Both linemen come through, but that right hand is just a big flag. Officials from all over the field can see it, and that's going to draw the flag every time.
Going to hold, get it down around the waist. Is that it, Dan?
Well, if you get it up there, you better get it down in a hurry. That's right. Hold inside. Get that jersey where nobody can see.
There is a technique to it.
Bet your life there is. I almost made a boo-boo.
1st and 20. Deep drop, and then throwing at the feet of Timmy Smith was Williams.
Smart play.
Oh, and Hedden is really getting on Timmy Smith.
Smart play. Oh. No chance of a completion.
Right.
Doug Williams just dumps it off.
Hedden, I think, thought that Smith didn't catch the football because he was there, but Smith made a terrific play on it.
And those of you that will say, well, wait a minute, isn't that intentional grounding? But intentional grounding has to be avoiding a sack. Williams isn't avoiding a sack there. He just throws it at his ankles to get rid of it and dispatch the down and start over again second and long.
He doesn't care about stats, does he?
Nope.
Real smart play, because you don't want to complete that pass. It would be a 6-yard loss. 2nd and 20 from the 16-yard line. Draw, Bryant, and Kelvin escapes one tackle and then gets spun down by Mark Collins, who comes up from the corner at the 18-yard line. So the Skins with a 3rd and long as the Giants try to keep them deep in their own territory. 3:40 left in the half. We mentioned Williams and the fact he's so unselfish. Good graphic right there. As you can see, the interception rate is about the same, but there's the sack rate. Williams in his career, 3 per 100 pass plays. Last year's average in the league is 8, so he will throw the ball away, is what it amounts to.
You throw it here or run it, Frank?
Got to throw it. Something underneath for us.
3rd and 18. It's complete to Warren, and Warren takes it out to the 29-yard line, the tight end, where Adrian White comes up to knock him down. Short of the first down, and so the Giants will get the ball back with 3 minutes to go in the half.
And I say throw it. You've got to throw it because at this point, you don't want to, as a coach, let your offensive team think that you realize the defense is taking your offense away from you.
No, but if you're going to throw it, you do it just the way the Redskins
conservatively.
did. Very high percentage, tight end screen that time. Adrian White, the Giant safety, shaken up, but he appears to be fine on his way over to the sideline.
Giants could offensively take a page from the Redskins book also. A little screen here and a little draw there wouldn't maybe perhaps slow that pass rush down a little bit that they're getting from the Redskins.
Well, the New York Giants will get another crack at it offensively. I don't know if that's good or bad.
Cox to kick.
Defense will probably telling them to go out there and hold him a while.
Cox had a 55-yarder, but that was into the end zone for a touchback, so a net 35, and then the last punt, a poor one, 25 yards. And also a penalty on Scully, who was ineligible downfield. Good high deep kick this time. The sure-handed McConkey takes it at the 25-yard line. And he is stopped at the 32-yard line. The Giants have 2 timeouts left in the half after a 46-yard punt and a 7-yard run back, and 2:17 remaining in the first half. 13-0 Washington. Now at halftime, Rader from the coast live at the half. You looked at Nelson settling in at right tackle. Giants from their own 32-yard line with Manuel in motion. Sims throws over the middle to Manuel. Green makes the tackle at the 38-yard line. Pickup of about 6. As we come up to the 2-minute warning, and the clock will stop at that mark. And again, the Giants have spent 1 timeout, so they have 2 remaining. 2 minutes to go in the first half. Washington on top of the Giants on opening night, 13-0.
Let's take it back to ABC.
Go in the half from the shotgun. Sims throws to Bavaro. He beat Coleman, and then Monty wrestles him down from behind at the 45-yard line. First down.
Why would I want to throw to that guy every time? In a situation like this, you'd think that something miraculous would have to happen to keep it out of Bavaro's hands.
He lines up slot right this time on first down. Sims to the left and incomplete. Intended that time for George Adams. It'll be 2nd and 10 with 1:38 and 2 timeouts left in the half.
The Giants just having trouble sustaining offense.